All right, guys, let's talk about UFC 308. Obviously, it's sad to see what happened to Max, what happened to Rob Whittaker as just being longtime fan favorites. There's not going to be any disrespect shown in this video. Like, Khamzat got it done, Ilia got it done. I actually like both of those guys, especially Ilia. I'm a big Ilia fan. It's just, listen, I was a Max and Rob fan first, so I'm going to go with the guys that I've been watching for longer, the guys that I actually have just these are some of my favorite fighters for a long time. And again, Ilia Topuria is one of those guys I'm a big fan of. I'm a fan of Chimaev, even though I do think he gets his classic Daggy privilege. But like, they go out there, they prove it, they're great fighters. Just because I want Max and Rob to win doesn't make me a hater, man. It's just they were my first. Like that's just how I'm gonna put it. Like they were the ones that I were fans of first. So we're going to get into the breakdown because UFC 308 was overall a really fucking good card. Now, I went 9-4 and I got the last three fights on the card wrong, went all underdogs, got them all wrong, but I got the Rebecca underdog right, which was awesome. That brings my overall record to 274 and 165. So, pretty good day. Definitely could have done better, but you know what? I took a shot on some underdogs. It didn't work out. But let's start with this fight. Right off the bat, we got a robbery to start this card. Renat Fakhretdinov lost this fight, arguably 30-27. I would argue that this is a 30-27 scorecard right here that should have went out. And they had a judge that gave it 30-27 to Renat. I don't know how you can even argue 29-28 for Renat Fakhretdinov either. So I just don't get it. Carlos Leal won. Now, Carlos Leal is on the fucking juice. This guy has more back knee than I've ever seen in my entire life on an insane amount of juice. But the dude hits really fucking hard. No shit, he's on the juice. Like, he hits well. His low kicks were good, and they were really hurting and bothering Renat Fakhretdinov really good, they're just bothering him a lot. And then his hands were just powerful and crispy, where he had moments where he was wobbling. Renat Fakhretdinov in round one looked absolutely awful for Fakhretdinov. He was getting pieced up, lost that one clearly. But I will say this was a fun fight. As the rounds kept going on, Renat was realizing that, yeah, these takedowns aren't working. This guy's not going down, and when he does, he pops right back up, so I'm not going to be able to stall this fight out here. I'm going to have to stand and strike. And he kind of just bit down on the mouthpiece and started throwing. It was ugly strike, and don't get me wrong, but he had moments where he was landing, like his jab was landing, and it was a little bit of a lazy jab, but he was popping it. It was landing. He'd follow with a two. He was throwing some crazy stuff, throwing like a little side back fist, like throwing some crazy stuff. It was ugly, but it was kind of being effective. It's just Leal was looking cleaner and landing the better shots. Round three, I guess you could give to Renat, possibly. I just didn't. I kind of saw this 30-27 for Carlos Leal. And the other thing that I'm going to say is the strike totals. Renat Fakhretdinov had way less, and Carlos Leal had way more strikes. And then once the decision got made, they adjusted the strikes to change to this, just to cover up how bad that robbery is. And the name of the guy that gave a 30-27 scorecard to Carlos Leal, it's exactly the type of guy you would think it is. You know, a homegrown guy over there giving it to Renat Fakhretdinov because, they got to ruin the sport over there. Like, they can't give out honest decisions. They have to try and ruin the sport because they want to control everything. Bunch of fucking rats. But, yeah, that should be fired. All the judges should be fired. I don't know how you saw this 29-28 Renat Fakhretdinov, and don't get me wrong, man, I had Renat in a ton of parlays that ended up winning me money, so I'm happy that I got to win some bets there, but like, dude, he didn't deserve that decision. He didn't win. Carlos Leal beat his fucking ass, so I'm very, very confused with that decision. Just classic Abu Dhabi robbery. And then we move on to Ismail Nordiev, and I thought Nordiev looked good, man. I also thought that Bruno Silva looked fucking terrible, like he didn't want to be in there. Nordiev just kind of outclassed him in every aspect of this fight. He was landing the better shots. He was effectively grappling. And then Bruno Silva would do this thing where he would like throw a lazy kick and turn around and spin and then just like not react and just have his back turned to Nordiev, and Nordiev would hunt him down and try and beat his ass. And it was like, what are you doing, Bruno Silva? And DC said it on the commentary. It's like, sometimes you just watch and you can see when the fight's gone in someone. Like, this dude doesn't know that he wants to be in the octagon anymore. I think Bruno Silva should retire, honestly. It just doesn't look like he wants to be in there anymore. It doesn't look like he wants to fight anymore. Doesn't have the love for the game. You're coming off multiple losses, so he's definitely getting cut. I just think it's time to call it quits for Bruno Silva, man. He looked fucking terrible. But let's not take away from Ismail Nordiev. Nordiev looked really, really good. Again, great striking, great grappling. Again, not the highest level, but he's getting better, and he has improved so much since his last stint in the UFC that this was a really encouraging sign to see here. Nordiev had moments where he was just ragdolling and taking down Bruno Silva, and Bruno Silva would grab the cage, and then Bruno Silva will also go. And listen, I bitched for Bruno Silva about the Chris Weidman eye pokes, but it's pretty rich listening to him complain about the Chris Weidman eye pokes that much, and then just going on a fence-grabbing crusade this entire fight. So, good performance from Ismail Nordiev, just far better than Bruno Silva, outclassed him everywhere to go, and it was very encouraging to see. Bruno Silva wanted to quit, man. It's time to call it quits. Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo. We can talk about the weight miss too, and it's not really a weight miss. Victor Hugo just said, "Listen, we're doing this at 45. It's the only way I'm making weight." And Farid Basharat obliged, ended up weighing in at 137.5, and Hugo went in at 146. So there was a huge advantage in the size for Victor Hugo, but that didn't stop Farid Basharat. Farid Basharat looked really, really good in this fight, man. He had a lot of moments where he was landing good counters, landing a pullback right hand, and Victor Hugo had some dangerous moments too. He's a lot of fun to watch fight. He was throwing heavy bombs, and just he was leaving it all out there. His submissions looked really, really good. He almost had Farid Basharat in a couple of different submissions there, but Basharat was just too game for it, too good. And I actually think Farid Basharat's much better than his brother. His striking looked far slicker. He's got good wrestling, good control, good submission defense. There were moments where, again, I thought it was getting dicey and he was going to get caught in a submission by Victor Hugo, but Farid Basharat just ended up getting out of it, having good control, landing a little bit of ground and pound, getting back to the feet, and then just absolutely, just really technically outclassing Victor Hugo on the feet. Again, Victor Hugo was throwing big power, throwing heavy, heavy low kicks. Farid Basharat was able to check some of them. That's the kind of stuff I want to see out of some of these fighters up and coming. Now, trying to think if there was anything else I really wanted to talk about in this fight other than how good Basharat looked. Like that pullback right hand he was landing all night long. Hugo was going for some leg locks. Those were the submissions that was getting dicey, but it really was a high-level fight. Like, this was a very high-level fight. I think Farid Basharat's a real, real good fighter, especially at bantamweight, and he's going to be a good name in that division. And listen, I know Victor Hugo missed weight, but maybe he continues to fight at 145, and I think he's got a future, too. I think Victor Hugo's pretty solid. It was just a really high-level fight, and Basharat remained very calm in there. And that's one of the other things I want to see, because there were dangerous moments where, again, Hugo's throwing big power, going in for submissions and almost getting them, but Basharat just remained calm, got himself out of the submissions, got himself out of the firing range of Victor Hugo, and was able to just land that pullback right hand time and time again. It was so clean. Yeah, and then one of the things that I've got to say is Basharat calling out wants to be ranked 15 at bantamweight. Yeah, I don't know that you're ready for that. There's a lot of big names that are in bantamweight right now. Like, you can't take Montel Jackson out of there. You can't take any of those guys out of there. Like, you can take Mario Batista out. I'm totally cool with that. But anyone else, I mean, you got to rack up a couple wins. You got to have the Pedro Munoz win. You got to have the Chris Gutierrez win. Like, you got to go out there, get some of these bigger name wins, and then you can get that ranking or a fight into the rankings. But I do think Farid Basharat will be ranked at one point. He's young. He's going to keep getting better. And, I mean, he's really good right now, so I'm very interested to see how this keeps going. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. I mean, what is there to say, man? Like, I don't think Nzechukwu's good at all. I really do think he's just a low-level shit fighter. I think Barnett is just even worse. And, listen, he's fat and out of shape, and that's why he's getting hurt in these fights, man. It's not like freak accidents happen all the time. This isn't necessarily a freak accident. It's like you're fat and out of shape. You're not going to be able to do these spin kicks like you want to do. Fucking lose some weight. Go fight at fucking lightweight, which is what you should be fighting at. But no, he's a heavyweight fat ass that has to cut. And again, dude, I like Chris Barnett. Like, he's funny. I like his energy. He's gone through some shit, and he's just come out the other side continuing to fight. But, dude, he's just not good, like, at all. And Kennedy Nzechukwu is not good at all either. Like, Chris Barnett goes for a spin kick, blows his knee out, and Kennedy just ends up pouring on a couple shots. Like, he hurt himself. Dude, this is just what heavyweight MMA has looked like recently. Like, the low-level heavyweight MMA are just a bunch of fat guys that don't know what they're doing and don't have any other career for themselves, so they go into the UFC and just fucking stink it up, man. It's so bad. What else did I want to say about this? It was I mean, Kennedy looked terrible, low-level MMA. Chris Barnett, the way he really hurt himself looked like it was on the original jump at the beginning of the fight. He's so fat that when he landed, he hurt himself. So, yeah, we're going to move on. There's not much to talk about in this fight. Kennedy Nzechukwu gets his first heavyweight win, but it was far from impressive. So, really one of the shittier fights on this card. But don't matter because now we get a good fight. Abus Magomedov and Bruno Ferreira. I actually thought this was a really good fight. The beginning was really a lot of Abus using the range that he had, able to just use his kicks, stay on the outside, stay away from the danger of Ferreira, and Bruno Ferreira didn't do anything in the first round. He won it, like Abus won it cleanly, just staying on the outside, being fast with those kicks, landing teeps, throwing a couple front kicks that almost landed up to the face, which were really, really good, able to get a couple low kicks off. Then round two comes around, and Bruno Ferreira comes out with a completely different energy and just starts putting it on Abus Magomedov, hurting him really bad multiple times. They didn't score anything a knockdown, but he had multiple times where he was hurting Abus, and Abus would have to wobble around and then would end up on the ground somehow. And he landed a really good jab right into a kick as Abus was going to shoot because it was hurting him, and he landed that, and then Abus just goes down, realizes he's still in the fight, manages to grab a leg. So that's one of the things that I thought was going to be impressive for Abus is his ability to wrestle in this fight and eventually tire out Bruno Ferreira. Now, neither guys have cardio past a round and a half, but listen, they scrapped it out. Like, I respect that. They scrapped it out. I'd like to see them both get better cardio, but this is what we knew. They both have these cardio issues. I expected it going into this fight, so I'm not, like, pissed off about it because this is exactly what I expected, but Bruno Ferreira landed some shots, and this dude has some insane power for middleweight. He hurts everybody he hits. He left Gregory Rodriguez out flat in the octagon. He's done this to multiple people. Bruno, like Phil Hawes and Dustin Soltz. It's like, who hasn't done that to them? But especially Phil Hawes. That guy just gets knocked out like he's Johnny Walker. But try and stop saying too. I'm sure that's probably annoying for you guys to hear. Abus Magomedov ends up coming out there in round three, lands some good shots, wants to stay on the feet. Ferreira's landing some good shots, and then it gets to the wrestling. And once it gets to the wrestling, like Abus Magomedov just takes over, is able to continue to advance position. The referee told Bruno Ferreira, hey, no elbowing to the back of the head, and Abus used that time to pass, get to the full mount, and lock up an arm triangle, and that was the story. It was a really good arm triangle. Abus has very good wrestling. Very, very good wrestling. So I do think he's going to need to continue to mix these up as he's facing these extremely good power punchers. But Abus is a fight that a lot of people should be intimidated by. Like, Bruno Ferreira wouldn't have stood a chance if he didn't have crazy power, but he just has crazy power. Abus he looked pretty decent. Again, he gassed out, but he looked pretty decent. Bruno Ferreira, again, had power and was able to walk him down. They scrapped it out, so good fight for these guys, but really good win for Abus Magomedov. The other thing I want to say is, don't worry, we all heard Bruce Buffer call him Abus Nurmagomedov. It's just Magomedov. It's not Nurmagomedov. I get it, but yeah, really good performance. Abus just didn't quit in this fight, and I think that was really impressive. But what we're going to do now is move on to the fight of the night. What a scrap. What a war. Prelim fight of the year. This is a nominee for overall fight of the year with Alex versus Khalil, with Ribovics versus Zellhuber. Guys, I hate to say it, but Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje's not a fight of the year. I'm going to be real. It's a really good fight, one of the best of the year, but it's not a nominee. It had that great moment that really makes us think about it a lot. Mateusz Rebecki at plus 225, man. Did I not tell you? I was 6-0 leading up to this point, and then I go 7-0. No, I don't know how people scored this for Majdorbek Orobai. I really don't. One of the judges gave him round 3, like they forgot that he was knocked out, getting beat up on, and the ref wanted to see him die before stop the fight. So, toughness on both sides. I mean, they both left it absolutely all out there. Round 1 comes around, and Rebecki is swinging. Big power. Super physical, and I think the physicality was really bothering Majdorbek Orobai. And listen, that's what I was telling you guys leading into this fight is he's going to be too physical. It's not going to be easy for Majdorbek Orobai to get this to the ground. And if it's standing on the feet, Rebecki has the power that Orobai doesn't necessarily. It's not like Orobai doesn't have power because he does. Rebecki has some different kind of like 5'7" lightweight power right now. Landing those big left hands and like. listen, he was doubling up the jab, and then he'd follow with the 2 in combinations and really mix it up to be able to find the chin of Maidelbek Orolbai. And at the end of round 1, he's got Orolbai's eye shut. Like, absolutely shut. This thing is swollen. We're looking, I'm like, it's a broken orbital. Dana White said the same thing in the post-fight press conference, and it ended up just being like major swelling in the eye. It wasn't a broken orbital, so that was crazy. Maidelbek Orolbai continues to push through and has a war, like goes to war with him and ends up winning round 2. I think Orolbai won round 2 and just, he looked good, dude. This fight was awesome. Orolbai was landing good on the feet. Rebecki was landing good on the feet, and then Orolbai would wobble Rebecki. Rebecki would wobble Orolbai. Then Orolbai would wobble him back. Orolbai would shoot in, get a takedown, not be able to control it like crazy, but had some time of control. Then it would get reversed by Rombeski, and Rombeski would get reversed, and it was just a back and forth scrap. Massive cut on the eye of Rombeski, and it was caused by a headbutt. So I still do give Orolbai round 2 because I think he did enough to win it, but I don't want to hear people say that like the cut is the reason that he won it, because it's not. Maidelbek Orolbai won round 2, and it had nothing to do with the cut. The cut was done by a headbutt. But both guys are now starting to get super tired. Like, Rebecki is exhausted, and how can you not be when you're winging crazy power like that the whole time? But then we get to round 3. Rebecki is now just gone into final gear, and he is still slinging heavy, like absolute gunslinging, throwing bombs, and we are in for a fucking war. And I texted this to the group chat. If any of you guys are watching, I told you, I got a feel. Once round 1 ended, I said, I got a feeling we're in for a fucking war. And sure as hell we were. They are going back and forth. Then Rombeski lands a shot that just absolutely starches Maidelbek Orolbai. He lands on, finishing sequence, starting ground and pound, ground and pound, ground and pound. The ref doesn't stop it because he wanted to see Orolbai die, or he had money on Orolbai. And holy shit, that's what wins the round for Rebecki right there. The knockdown and the ass kicking that he gave Maidelbek Orolbai for that like minute and a half straight. And he ends up winning most of this round too. There were moments where Maidelbek Orolbai would end up coming back, reversing a takedown, land a good 1-2 of his own that would like have Rebecki like a little hurt because Rebecki's so tired. But guys, like those few moments from Maidelbek Orolbai does not win him the round when Mateusz Rombeski almost 10-8'd him. He knocked him out pretty much and then got absolutely beat his ass back into consciousness pretty much. And the ref just said, nah, I'd like to see death. Insane. Insane work from the referee. I think it should have been stopped earlier, but holy smokes, the toughness on Orolbai, the toughness on Rombeski. These guys put on a scrap. They got $50K each from Dana and well-deserved. Holy hell. I don't get how a judge gives round 3 to Orolbai. I don't get how anyone gives round 3 to Orolbai. Speta, if you're watching, Orolbai don't win round 3, brother, just because he had a couple of good moments. He did, and it was at the end of the round, so I get the recency bias there, but the most significant portion of that round and the most damage done was by Mateusz Rombeski. He had the knockdown, and then he beat Orolbai's ass for like 30 seconds to a minute straight on ground and pound and tired himself out because the ref just wanted to see death. That's literally what it was. But really good performance from Rebecki. Really good fight overall. Maidelbek Orolbai is a fucking warrior. Mateusz Rombeski's a warrior. These guys are going to have to take some time off after that one because that was a goddamn scrap, and God, I'm happy we had it. Moving on. Jeff Neal versus RDA. There's really not much to say. Jeff Neal was on his way to a first-round knockout anyway if RDA didn't blow out his knee. Like, Jeff Neal's boxing was looking really good. He was landing hard on Rafael Dos Anjos, and he looked so good against the southpaw. Like, the boxing was crispy. He was talking about he's able to pull off different things. Now, they had moments where they were kicking each other's legs, and it was getting dicey. Like, they kept, like, hitting each other and at the same time, and I'm like, dude, is someone's leg gonna fucking break here? But then Jeff Neal puts out the boxing performance and just beats the brakes off of Rafael Dos Anjos for a minute. Gets a knockdown that has Rafael Dos Anjos hurt bad, lands some ground and pound, makes Rafael Dos Anjos stand up, lands another good shot, and like RDA's knee just buckles, crumbles. He got hurt, and it was a TKO. Listen, I feel bad for RDA, man. Don't want to see him get injured again. Like, he's one of these guys that just, his body's not really staying as healthy as he'd like it to. But Jeff Neal, man, I think Jeff Neal was going to win this fight no matter what. And I think after seeing that first couple of exchanges, every time he hit RDA, RDA was hurt. He was going to knock out RDA in this fight. Really good performance from Jeff Neal. First round knockout, absolutely stellar. And I was still perfect on this card. The first fight I got wrong was Ibo Aslan versus Rafael Cerqueira. I thought Cerqueira was just going to be able to land because Ibo Aslan is so hittable. His feet are so flat-footed. But Rafael Cerqueira just has no fight IQ, man. He just went out there, no moving his head, no shooting takedowns, no trying to circle around. Just stood there with his hands up, and he got his ass beat by Ibo Aslan. Ibo Aslan poured on a fucking 26-punch combination and just beat the living hell out of Rafael Cerqueira. So kudos to Ibo Aslan. Very interested to see how he continues to do in the light heavyweight division. Still saw a lot of flat-footedness, but listen, it was 51 seconds and he was going for a finish the whole time. So a lot of respect there, and flat-footedness when you're going for a finish, it's a thing. People are gonna stand that base, mate. I don't really get the voice to do it right now. Ibo Aslan, man, just beat the brakes off of him. That's honestly all I have to say. Just 51 seconds of an ass kicking. That's what we got. Good, really, really good performance. Curious to see what he does at light heavyweight. Rafael Cerqueira, I'll remember that you're dumb as fucking bricks the next time you fight and I try and pick you just because you're super athletic and have crazy power. I'll remember that, but apparently Anton Turkalj is better than Rafael Cerqueira, so, why would I even bring up MMA math? It never works. We move on. Shara and Arman. This was a scrap. Really, really good performance from Shara Magomedov here, man. And in the first round, he had some adversity that he really needed to overcome. He did. There were moments in this fight where Petrosyan was landing, and he, right off the bat, had Shara Magomedov hurt and not liking the strikes. Arman Petrosyan was landing really good low kicks, just beating up the legs of Shara Magomedov. And then with his punches, when he would close distance, he would actually let his hands go, and he looked really goddamn good in this fight. And then all of a sudden, Shara just put it together. It's once the cobwebs went out, once Shara started feeling comfortable in that octagon again, he just put it together. Was landing good combinations, good kicks, good punches, really good counters. Was slipping, doing his little slip left hook, slip right hook. Did a great job. Really, really good performance from Shara. Good performance on the other end from Arman Petrosyan, man. Went to war, but the finishing sequence here, it was literally a double spinning back fist. That was amazing. Amazing knockout, double spinning back fist, and it just leaves Arman out in the octagon. Some people are calling early stoppage. What the fuck are you watching? Arman didn't complain himself, and Arman was donezo there. Shara walked off, and the ref jumped in because Arman was done. The low kicks for Arman, though. He landed 45 low kicks on Shara. Really good work. Shara was doing a great job of landing shots to the body. It took him a little while to do it, but he did start finally tuning up the body with his kicks, landing combinations, and finishing them with kicks to the body. Looked good, and ended up getting his knockout. Tremendous performance. Calls out Izzy on the mic. Calls out everyone at middleweight on the mic. Listen, man, Shara's a fun fighter, dude. Love watching him fight. I'm cool with giving him stylistically perfect matchups. There's going to be a point where someone's going to come in and beat him pretty bad, I think, but I mean, when he's facing a guy that likes to kickbox like Arman Petrosyan, he's going to out-kickbox him. So, again, there were moments where it was dicey. Someone with heavy hands can pose real problems for Shara, but Shara is fast, bro. He is really, really fast, and he got a tremendous knockout win. So, kudos to Shara Magomedov, man. The OVs. If your last name ends in V, you're winning fights. Lerone Murphy, Dan Ige. I thought this was a pretty good fight, too, guys. We're looking at this, and round one goes to Dan Ige. He gets the knockdown on a picture-perfect left hook that just lands right on the chin of Lerone Murphy. Almost starches him out cold. But Lerone Murphy survives, continues to work. Then we get Dan Ige able to have moments in the wrestling in round one. But once round two came around, Lerone Murphy figured it out. Dan Ige looked like he was starting to get tired, which is crazy. I don't know how he got tired. I mean, I guess Abu Dhabi was really, really hot, but he started getting tired. Lerone Murphy started getting tired too, but you could see Murphy was doing a much better job. He was landing elbows in close. He was landing his straight left hand, straight right hand. And I was wrong. In the lead-up, I was like, I feel like Lerone Murphy's a southpaw. He's a switch stance. He's not a southpaw, so I'm an idiot. But yeah, man, Lerone Murphy in the second round really started to pick it up. landed more volume, landed more strikes, throwing things really close on the inside that were doing damage to Dan Ige. Those little cheeky elbows were really, really nice. Was timing knees beautifully. And then he would get takedowns of his own. He had a lot of success in the grappling here as well. He got 3 takedowns in this fight. And when he was shooting them, like, Dan Ige really couldn't stop him. So well-timed takedowns from Lerone Murphy and just really good work overall to get some control time and do a little bit of ground and pound. So Lerone Murphy with a great performance, wins round 2, and then round 3 comes around, and it's slower, it's sloppier, there's a lot of grappling involved, they're going back and forth, but Murphy does enough to win it, because even when they get back to the feet, he starts landing the punches that end the fight, and the bell goes off, and it's Lerone Murphy pushing the pressure and landing the more shots. So that's a good performance from Lerone Murphy, man. He's going to keep working up in the rankings. This dude's a dog, like, someone you got to continue to watch out for. I think he deserves that top 10 fight that he wants, and after that, if he wins that, then we're, again, looking up at that top 5. Featherweight stacked. There's a lot of good matchups for him here, so stay tuned for matchmaking, which will be coming out tomorrow. But great performance from Lerone Murphy. Kudos to Dan Ige. Had a moment in round 1 where he got the knockdown, but Lerone Murphy just did enough to get it done. Really, really good performance from this kid. Oh, Alexander Rakic versus Magomed Ankalaev. Every time Ankalaev fights. Now, I know Rakic is pretty much at fault for this one, but I want to see people get upset in the comments, man. I know that they weirdly like to defend Magomed Ankalaev for some reason, even though he's dumb as rocks and isn't getting title shots because he keeps taking shots at Dana and the UFC and shit like that. Like, shut your mouth, go in there and fight, and become undeniable. And if you are going to talk shit, buddy, talk it in English. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I thought it was a shit fight. Rakic was running around the whole time. I do think these numbers are wrong. I think he landed way more than 10 punches to the head. But round 1 goes to Rakic. He's blasting the low kicks really, really well, and they're starting to hurt Ankalaev. He's doing a really good job of it, landing some jabs, landing a follow-up too, and wins round 1. A lot of dancing around the cage. Ankalaev's having a tough time tracking him down. When he's letting it go, he's really letting it go, but he had a tough time tracking him down in that first round. And then round 2, Ankalaev does a better job tracking him down and landing his punches. He had a really good straight left that popped the head back of Alexander Rakic. Looks like it hurt him. Was landing good kicks. And Rakic was doing something that was really, really smart. And then he kind of just went away with it. He was throwing that high kick right up top. And it was occupying the left hand of Magomed Ankalaev, so he couldn't throw that powerful straight left, and we always had to be blocking. And Rakic almost got him a couple times with that high kick, but Ankalaev just in time blocks it. He kind of just went away with it in that part, and I don't know if that's the corner telling him, listen, you're up. You don't need to go for anything aggressive. Awful corner work, because round 2, Ankalaev wins clearly. Round 3, he also wins clearly, but the corner is telling him he's up 2-0 when they're going into round 3. So, awful corner work, just absolutely stupid. Ankalaev gets the job done. Not entertaining, not fun, but he gets the job done. He is going to be next for Alex Pereira. From what I saw today, dude, I think Pereira beats his fucking ass, honestly. I honestly do. I think Rakic is a better grappler than Ankalaev, too. I'm going to be honest. But Magomed Ankalaev's got power, dude. He's got power, and he's got a good left hand, and when he lands it, it's good, and his striking is very slow, and it's poised, but when he hits you hard. I just think that he is never going to figure out how to address these low kicks. If he's getting them chewed up every fight he's in, Jan's beating him up, Rakic is beating him up. Those are 2 of the best leg kickers. And then you got another guy, and Alex Pereira, who he wants to fight for the title, who is going to crush that leg instantly. So I think Pereira's going to get it done early, and I think he's going to get it done in fashion. I think he beats the fuck out of Ankalaev, but good win for Ankalaev. Not entertaining, but good win. And this is the kind of, like, name on a resume that you need to see to get a title shot. Like, Johnny Walker ain't getting you a title shot, little bro. Like, it's not happening. So Rakic getting a win, getting a win over Rakic is a really good win, and that's a very tough matchup for him. So he goes out there, he got it done. Not in a fun way, but he got it done. This one hurt. This is one of those ones that, like, you just sit there and you just feel for Robert Whittaker, man. Like, what can he do? I thought he was going to be able to outlast this grappling exchange, and honestly, like, it really looked like he was going to. He was defending the submissions. He was turning into them to be able to reverse position and try and get out of it, or at least get Khamzat to continue to work. And I thought with the amount of work that Khamzat was trying to do on the ground, he was going to tire out in round 2. But then Khamzat puts the choke in, and Robert Whittaker taps faster than anything I've ever seen. Faster than anyone I've ever seen tap. That was insane. and he taps. His jaw got busted, dude. It got busted so bad his teeth are moved backwards. You saw the pictures online from Home of Fight. Like, what are you going to do in that sense? The guy squeezes so damn hard that he's sending teeth backwards in Robert Whittaker's mouth. Listen, man, I don't know what to say, Rob. Like, I do think he's good enough to beat Khamzat, and I think he has a good style to beat Khamzat, and I think if they fight again, there's a chance that Robert Whittaker can get it done, but, like, it was just exactly... I don't want to say it was a freak accident, because it's Khamzat's pure strength, but, like, when do we really see that happen that much, where there's a tap instantaneously from a squeeze? That must have been some fucking squeeze to absolutely destroy Robert Whittaker's jaw and teeth and make him tap that quick. Robert Whittaker's tough as nails, and Robert Whittaker started this fight, and he was going to bring it to Chimaev. He was landing his low kicks, he was getting ready to strike, and then Khamzat gets to the takedown. Robert initially sprawls, but then Khamzat ends up getting it, ends up getting good position, and Robert Whittaker's fighting it the whole time, not giving up the submission. He's letting Khamzat have his back at moments because he knows that that choke is not going in. He knows how to defend it until he gets almost body triangled. Once Khamzat got the hooks in, that's when it was danger for Whittaker, and Whittaker did a great job. Awesome defense of pushing the leg out of Khamzat to the side and being able to turn over. It was impressive, but then Khamzat he continued to stay undeniable. This guy's a freak, man. He's a monster. He is going to give Dricus one hell of a fight. I know that's how Dricus talks. I mean, I'm not doing good impressions right now because my voice is a little shot, but dude, Khamzat's going to give Dricus a really tough fight, and I don't know who I'm picking in that one yet. I was leaning Dricus, and then I saw what happened. I was going to pick Dricus, no doubt, and then I saw last night, and I was like, fuck. Khamzat might become champ. He might literally become champ, and just by beating all of my favorite fighters in middleweight, destroying Chimaev, then destroying Usman, who I'm a fan of, and going toe-to-toe with Usman, and then just going in there, and if he beats Dricus, man, this guy becomes undeniable, and we're only going to see him fight once every 2 years. But what a performance, man. Chimaev is just on another level, man. That grappling is just unbelievable. That squeeze and the strength is unbelievable. He missed fucking weight. You can't convince me otherwise, but Rob Whittaker will be back. He'll be back. I don't know if he'll ever find his way to... He could find his way to a title, man. He goes out there, he beats Imavov, and he beats, like, Baralho. Puts himself right into that conversation again, and if Khamzat's the champion, I bet Whittaker wants to run it back, and I like Whittaker's chances in a rematch. I just don't know that I can pick him after what I saw. So, shave my goatee because Whittaker just got his chin crushed. We're going to move on to the main event, which is another sad story. But Ilia Topuria, this dude might become the best fighter of all time. I'm not joking. This guy might become the GOAT of the future. I'm going to go out on a whim and say he's going to become the GOAT. Maybe not as many title defenses as John Jones, but he is better in every aspect in terms of well-roundedness. I think his wrestling's, but the way he got Max down that quick, that easy, very impressive. His boxing, oh my goodness, so technical, so powerful. Holy smokes, man. He made Max's eyes roll to the back of his head in this fight. I never thought I would see that. Max wins round one, outlanding Ilia. Ilia's landing good power shots and marching him down, but he's having trouble with the range. He was struggling to gain control of Max. He was having a lot of trouble with the range. He lands some really good low kicks actually on Max that started to hinder the ability, but Max was throwing good kicks of his own, throwing that high kick up there, that spin kick landed to the body really good. Max was throwing that front kick up top and then doing the stomps. He was literally stomping on Ilia's knee because of the calf injury that, was it a calf injury? Ilia had surgery, I think it was on his calf, and that's what the hole in his knee is. But Max was doing a good job stomping it, busting up Ilia, and it was starting to really bother him. But Ilia eventually, once it gets to round two, starts finding his range. Max is landing. He's landing very good, but Ilia's now starting to land combinations of his own, and they're powerful. You can feel the difference in power here. Now, Max had a couple of straight right hands that were really, really good, but every single punch Ilia threw had insane power on it. I never thought I'd see Max go out like that. Never. And Ilia just absolutely starch him. I'm seeing it in my head right now, and I can't shake the like discomfort and just the awkwardness that I felt watching it. Round 3 comes around, and you're just starting to feel it's like, dude, Ilya's going to get to him, and he's going to do the same thing he did to Volk. He's going to put his lights out. And that's what he does. He gets up in his face, throws the right hand right on the nose of Max. Max starts to get wobbled, and literally on that punch, Max's eyes start to go back like this, and I'm like, oh my God, he's fucked up. He fucked him up really bad. Ilya starts going in, hunting the finish. Max is now starting to exchange while he's hurt, which that's a bad motherfucker right there. He's going to go in there and he's just going to continue to exchange with you even though he's hurt. But Max goes in there. Ilya starts to land a couple of shots, and then he lands this left hook that just sits Max down. 1, 2, follow-up, fight's over. Max has been chinned for the first time, and he goes out cold, goes out bad. And Ilya is just the best fighter I've seen right now in the UFC. Ilya is the best fighter in the UFC, guys. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, there are holes in the game that can be exploited, but, like, when you got that kind of power and that kind of technique, that kind of wrestling, I say there's holes in the game. It's like he's actually fixing these holes that I saw before. And listen, he can get out volume, but I don't care who's punching him. He's going to find your chin and he's going to knock you out. Like, I actually think Ilya can beat Islam. I really do. I think he poses a very difficult fight for Islam, and I think he can chin Islam too. So, Ilia Topuria is that guy. He's going to be the biggest star in the UFC. He is the best fighter in the UFC right now. He should be above Jones pound for pound. Listen, it should really right now be Islam, Alex, Ilia, Aspinall. Like, I'm not putting Jones in there because Jones is fucking, other dudes. Ilia is just a fucking monster, man. This guy is so good. And then, I like that he's talked shit, guys. I like him yapping. I like him talking shit. I want hype in the fight. I want there to be animosity. I want them to go in this fight like they want to kill each other. But at the end of the day, Ilia knows it is all respect. Max knows it is all respect. And I love the respect shown at the end of this fight. The way he's saying, like, Max has started this generation. I grew up watching him. He was a great role model. He was great. He's been great for the sport, and he's going to continue to do his thing. Max will be back, but like I want to now be the guy that brings in the new generation, set the example for the new generation, and he's fighting for his dreams, man. That's what he's doing, and he's going out there and he's putting out the best fighters. How good is Josh Emmett's chin, by the way? Holy shit. Max got chinned. Alex Volkanovski got chinned. Josh Emmett didn't get chinned. What the fuck? That's crazy to me. But damn, man. Ilia Topuria is that dude. Volk comes in the octagon after. They're going to do the rematch. He's going to knock Volk out again. Volk does deserve his rematch, but we know this. We know what's going to happen. Volk is going to get knocked out by Ilia. He is. And then we're going to get a Diego Lopez fight, and I think that one will be in Spain. That will be towards the end of 2025, middle to end of 25. I think he's going to go to Australia and fight Volk in Australia and knock his ass out. And it's going to be sad to see. So, Ilia Topuria, Volkanovski is going to be the next fight. Kudos to Max Holloway. Max posted today. He said he's going to be back. So, I think for Max, let's move up to lightweight. Let's do this BMF tournament. Let's do a title run at lightweight here, because I do think you pose a lot of problems for people at lightweight. You just got to beat Ilia there. Like, you got to get there before him because he's got to do this again. But what a performance from Ilia Topuria. Max looked really good at moments in this fight too, but man, Ilia Topuria is that good. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please like and subscribe. UFC 308 was an absolutely amazing card. It just came at the cost of some of our favorites. So, kudos, Khamzat. Kudos, Ilia. It's sad. I'm allowed to feel sad about my fucking favorite fighters, some of my favorite fighters getting absolutely massacred out there. So, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the content. And again, if you did, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot.